Hi, welcome back to the Agent Success Summit. I'm your host, Mike Cerrone of MastermindAgent.com. In this session, Coach Jackie Leavenworth will talk about Aim for Greatness, 3 keys to living the life of your dreams. She's from Cleveland, Ohio, and has been a realtor for 30 years. Jackie is passionate about the real estate business and helping agents grow. She's a CRS, GRI, SFR, and certified senior CRS instructor. Jackie coaches, trains, and speaks through her company, Jackie Leavenworth Seminars. I'm honored to have Jackie Leavenworth with us today. Welcome to the call, Jackie.
Hey, Mike. Thank you. And it's so good to be back.
Hey, Jackie, it's great to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us again this year. Always love your information and can't wait to jump in again this year. So let's go ahead and do that.
All right. Let's do it because I've got a lot of information today. I'm really excited about this. All right. So, Mike, my topic is a little different this year. I think I've been with you since the inception of the Mastermind Summit, and it's always so great for the agents. I love what it does. And I've always been extremely real estate specific. This year, we're going to be life that then can be applied to real estate. So the aim for greatness is really just wonderful advice about how to find your greatness. So let's start with the fact that everything is about choice. Life is a choice. You see 2 doors here. Which one do you want to go through? And for me, I have been on an amazing journey, to be honest with you. An amazing journey with books, coaches, trying to figure out how this last quarter of my life is going to look. And finding that greatness that gives me joy inside, right? And the number one thing that I learned was that it's all my choice. What I put in my mouth is my choice. What I do with my body is my choice. What I say to someone is my choice. The way I respond or react to what someone says, whether it's kind or negative, the way I respond, it's all my choice. Everything is my choice. So I wanted to start right there because that is powerful. It is so powerful to know that I literally can choose how to respond to life and how to treat me and how to treat others. It's really cool. So what I wanted to start, this looks kind of strange. This is Greek mythology. So I do a lot of reading. I'll never forget the man who told me one time that if I don't get up in the morning and set the stage for my own day, the first person I meet will. So knowledge in my world anyway is really critical. And I loved this Epictetus, I believe is the way we say his name, Epictetus. And Epictetus was born a slave and ended up being an amazing Greek philosopher. And he said we should not trust the masses who say only the free can be educated, but rather the lovers of wisdom who say that only the educated are free. And that sort of sets this stage. If everything's our choice, well, how do we learn how to choose? We have to be students of life. This is classroom earth, and we get one shot at it, you know? And so we have to gain that knowledge. So I think it's sort of a journey of learning. And then we get knowledge, but knowledge is nothing without implementation and action. So then we apply it. And after the application of this over and over again, it becomes wisdom. There's a reason that our grandparents were more wise than we were when we were teenagers and young adults, right? Because they've had the opportunity to grow with this. So I mentioned learning. Larry Kendall, many people know Larry Kendall, the author of Ninja, and he's a wonderful man. And he's taught me a lot. Larry is a dear friend and a mentor, but one of the things that he taught me was that the 3 things that will change my life are the books that I read, the people I meet, and the places I go. And he said, literally, Jackie, if you meet no new people, go to new places, and read no new books, you're just going to be the same person you were. So that was huge for me too. So between that and what I read in the morning to start my day, so the first person I talk to or run into or the first email I read doesn't set it for me, right? I've become just an avid reader, and this has been going on for over 20 years now. And I wanted to mention this book because we're talking about learning. This book, Mutant Message Down Under by Marlo Morgan, is what I call an airplane read. In other words, I can get on the plane in Cleveland, Ohio. I can get off in Los Angeles, and I've read the book. It's just an airplane read. It's a quick little story about a female doctor who is in Australia, and her niche, her doctorate, is in studying Aborigines. In particular, the real people. It's a tribe in Australia. And they're deemed, according to the book, to be like the least civilized people in the world. And what Margot Morgan depicts in this story is that the woman who is over there thinks she's giving this huge speech to thousands of people about the real people. She's picked up in a Jeep by an Aborigine. And instead of being taken to this large auditorium to give her big speech, she is taken to their tribe. And they burn her clothes and shoes, and she is forced to do a walkabout across Australia with them. And their point was basically, don't tell the world who we are until you've walked in our shoes, right? So now this supposedly is a fiction book. There's controversy all about this book, but it's wonderful. And there are lots of messages. The one I want to hit today is that according to the book, the real people are not permitted to celebrate their birthday unless they've made marked, noticeable personal growth that year. In other words, it's like they have to earn the right to celebrate their birthday by making marked, noticeable personal growth. And I thought, how cool is that? How cool is that we should actually be measuring the growth? And we do that when we're children. I mean, we're measured by, you can't move on from first grade to second grade, or second grade to third grade, or 11th grade to 12th grade if you haven't made the marked, noticeable personal growth that does that. But as adults, it's more difficult because we get lost in the function of living and working. And we don't necessarily set a goal that is measurable and know that we meet that. To celebrate these milestones of our lives, we are gifted with another year, and what did we do with it? Are we the same person? So I love that message, and I love the book. So I just kind of wanted to start there with what that is all about, and say that it is also, we're hardwired as people, most of us are hardwired to want to grow, to want to evolve. And I call it maximizing your human potential. And I think most of us are hardwired to do that. So what do? The year starts and we get into our New Year's resolutions. And I've got a sample here. New Year's resolution: make 5 calls a day, write 5 cards a day, exercise 30 minutes a day, and eat a maximum of 50 carbs a day. Sounds like a really great plan. And we stick to it. Some of us even join a gym. Now, there is a reason that the gyms give us such a great deal on joining the gym at New Year's. And it's because they know you won't show up after the first 3 to 6 weeks. So basically, how long do we stick to these New Year's resolutions? Most New Year's resolutions are gone within weeks to months. They're gone. The question is why? Why? So I want to take you through a journey, first, of why these written goals, while I believe in written goals with all my heart, but why don't most of them stick? Why don't they work? We're going to go through the journey of why they don't work, and then we're going to go through the journey of making things happen, aiming for your greatness, if you will. So let's just take a look here. The human brain, it is said that we will have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day cross our brain. Now, I've got to wonder how many people are aware of 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. The worst case scenario, they say, is 12,000 thoughts a day. We're not aware of that. We might be aware of, I don't know, are we aware of 50? Are we aware of 70 of them? And if they're all crossing our brain, why aren't we aware of all of them? Well, for one thing, we have filtering systems. Thankfully, we have filtering systems, because think about the way things are coming to us today in email and in text and in Instagram and in Facebook and in Snapchat and in text and the news and the TV and the radio and the podcast and it's just like, it's going everywhere, right? So we do have filtering systems. Thank the Lord for that one. But the other thing is this. Science is revealing that only about 5% of our behavior literally comes from our higher level mind. Now, I've taken a lot of liberties. I am not a neuroscience. I am not a psychologist, and I am not a psychiatrist. But I do a lot of studying, and I've taken some liberty to just kind of draw this line right through the brain. So we've got the brain here, and we've got the line drawn through here at the upper level. And above the line is our higher level mind. That is our analytical mind. That is our thinking mind. That is our purposeful, deliberate, intentional mind. Some people call it the monkey brain. So it's our higher level mind, though. It's the one that we want to tap, which is great. We want to tap that. But about 95% of what goes on with us as human beings evolves from the subconscious mind. Maybe that's the monkey brain, the primitive brain, the subconscious mind. That is where most of our behavior comes from, like 95% of it. And the reason is this: it becomes from our beliefs and patterns that are already set into this subconscious mind that programs us to do what we do every day. I mean, think about it. If I've got a listing presentation and I'm going out to the seller and I've done the same listing presentation the hundreds of times, I've created a pattern. So a belief is nothing more than thought habits. If I think the same thing over and over and over again, it becomes a belief. If I do the same thing over and over again, it becomes a pattern, a habit, if you will. Our beliefs and patterns become the programming of this massive 90% of what goes on with us. In fact, there is some controversy over the term subconscious mind. And I loved when I read this. I thought, well, this makes sense to me. Because they said, if you call this the subconscious mind down here, then the subconscious mind sounds like it's subservient to the higher level mind. Because it's sub. Nothing could be further from the truth. Most of us operate 95% of our life out of this subconscious, so it's not really sub to the higher at all. In fact, it takes over and rules if we allow it to. So the book I was reading anyway, or several of them that have, had this controversy about subconscious, said, well, what if we call it the unconscious mind? Am I really conscious of, here, let me back up a minute. I remember learning to drive a car. And when my pop, my brother-in-law who raised me, took me out to drive the car, he took me to a park on a weekday knowing no one would be there so that I couldn't hurt anybody while I'm learning to drive, right? And I will never forget when he gave me instructions. He said, I'm going to ask you to turn left at the next road. Now, before you turn left, I want you to look in your rearview mirror. I want you to look out your side mirror. I want you to turn on your left turn signal. I want you to put your brake on so that you slow down. And then when all is clear, make a left-hand turn. And I remember looking at him with tears in my eyes, and I said, I can't remember all of that. That's too much at once. Do you think that I think about turning left today? Yeah, I think about it. I look for the car, but I do all of those things he told me. But it's habit. It is my unconscious mind doing it. Now, I have, again, taken a little poetic license with what I do. I'm calling it our default mind. Because if we think of it like a computer, the default mind is just what happens. It's like when your computer uses its default systems. And if you don't like the way your computer's defaulted to, how the programming is set, then you've literally got to intentionally go in and create a new setting or reprogram it. And that's exactly what we need to do with our minds or our brain. So I call it the default. How many people listening to this, I would assume, or watching this, have been introduced to Lost in Space? Now, I like the old one better than the new one. There's a new Lost in Space, but we've got Lost in Space. And if we remember Lost in Space, Will Robinson, one of the main characters, had a robot. And the robot's job was to watch out for him. The robot's job was to warn Will Rogers of any danger. Well, what is our mind programmed to do? It's programmed to prevent us from walking into danger. I mean, we are, fight or flight is because our mind goes, ooh, danger, fight or flight, fight or flight. And that's how we're programmed. Our robot does that. You know, we don't have that physical robot following us around. Well, not today, but it's coming, you know, like, hey, Siri, hey, Alexa. You know, I mean, they're doing things like that. The artificial intelligence is sort of mimicking what's going on in the unconscious mind because somebody programmed it. Alexa can answer anything you ask her as long as that question and answer has been programmed. So can Siri, as long as it's been programmed. So think about Lost in Space. What did the robot say? It would take its arms and go like this and flail and say, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. Does not compute. So the reason I bring this up is this. That default mind of ours, that 95%, can absolutely sabotage our goals. Because when I begin to do something that is out of the norm for me, my subconscious mind doesn't get it because my little neuron connections have been already wired to go, wait, you sleep till 7. What's this get up at 6:15 to go exercise at the Y thing? Danger, Jackie, does not compute. 6:15 does not compute because we have habits and pre-programmed 7 o'clock wake up. No matter what we try to do that is out of our norm, if we don't do it consistently to create the new neural pathways to reprogram our default mind, then our default mind will tell us does not compute. So is changing our patterns and beliefs easy? No, it takes time. They say it takes, what, 30 days, 21 to 30 days to form a habit. That's why. It's because your onboard computer is going to keep saying, danger, danger, does not compute, danger, danger. And you've got to convince it that this is good. So we need to figure out how to do that. So how can we change all of that? Well, let's take a look at how this can work. And I'm using a pyramid on purpose because I want this unbelievably strong structure to be sort of your picture. And the top of the pyramid is our beliefs. Our beliefs are nothing but, as I said earlier, thought habits. If I think it over and over again, it becomes a belief. Okay? Now, our thought habits create our behavior actions or behavioral habits. So if I believe this, then that sort of determines my behavior. My behavior, oh my gosh, determines my results. Now, I'm going to give a personal story about this. When I learned this from my dear mentor and friend, Ed Hatch, I thought, oh my gosh. So I have been a person who wants to get to an ideal weight for like all of my life that I can remember. Okay? And I'm that person who sets that written goal and I get all excited and then I start behaving in a different way and I start trying to control my behavior, what I put in my mouth, how I move my body, all that stuff starts to get changed. But my onboard default mind robot keeps saying, oh, danger, does not compute, does not compute. Why are you not eating ice cream tonight? So what I learned when I learned about this was I grew up with a story. The story that I told myself, my brothers and sisters told me, you are short and stocky. You are short and stocky. Now, if I thought I'm short and stocky, I'm short and stocky, I'm short and stocky, and your mother, by the way, your mother was short and stocky. So my mother was short and stocky. That's why I'm short and stocky. I'm short and stocky. That's what I told myself. What I've realized is until I change that belief, I can change my behavior. I can eat differently, move differently, but it will be short term. because my behavior will always match my underlying belief. My results will always be a result of my behavior, always. And what's really fascinating about this is if our belief determines our behavior and our behavior determines our result then reaffirms our belief. So just check this out. Belief, short and stocky. Behavior, eats potato chips and drinks beer. Results, short and stocky. Aha, see, told you, short and stocky. There you go. So the work that has to be done is to change the belief. Because when we work only on the behaviors, it's short term unless we have thought patterns below that level that makes sense to our behavior. Or we're going to get sabotaged by the robot. It's going to happen. So one of my champions in life, Albert Einstein, love the guy. And we all know him as being credited for saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. Well, now that I've become the student I have of all of this type of thinking about how to truly find my greatness, I hate to argue with Albert, but I'm going to give you a Jackie quote that I like even better, because I don't think Albert went deep enough. See, Albert was a guy who operated out of this critical mind up here. He did operate out of there. So I'm going to say insanity is thinking the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Because thinking comes before doing. I have to think it before I do it. So sorry, Albert, but I'm going to go just a little bit deeper here and go for insanity is thinking the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So let's talk about that. The truth is that people don't really have and I'm the first one, you see the beers here. People don't really have a drinking problem. They have a thinking problem. The beer, the alcohol is not the problem. The thought that makes the person want that or pick it up or swallow it is the problem. Drinking, it's not a drinking problem. It's a thinking problem. Do we have an eating problem or do we have a thinking problem? I will never forget going to a guy, this has been about 25 years ago. He was a hypnotist. And I thought this guy might help me with my weight problem. So I went in and I talked to this professional man with all the credentials on his wall. And he said, "Why are you here?" I said, "I'm here because I have a weight problem." He said, "What do you weigh?" And I told him. He said, "You don't have a weight problem." I'm like, yippee! Woohoo! See, here is a professional who just told me I don't have a weight problem. Yay, yay. He said, "Calm down." I said, "You don't have a weight problem, and you don't have a weight problem. You weigh what you weigh. You have an eating problem, dear." Well, my balloon got burst in a million pieces right there. It was like, you don't have a weight problem. You have an eating problem. So I'm going to go deeper than him too. I wish that man, because I stuck with the guy for like 6 weeks or something, nothing. So I wish he would have taken me deeper to say, you don't have an eating problem, you have a thinking problem. It's what are you thinking in the morning to plan what you want to eat that's healthy to put in your body? What are you thinking when you eat it? What are you thinking after you eat the wrong thing? Are you consciously aware and are you curious about why you did that? Are you curious about how it made you feel? Are you curious about what it's going to do? What's your thinking before, during, and after? I wish he would have said. And Mike, honestly, I could go down a rabbit trail for an hour on this one, but I won't. What about anxiety today? Oh my gosh. It drives me insane when I see some people with mild anxiety. Now, I am not discounting the fact that there are medical depressions, anxieties that need treated. I'm not discounting that. But I think that particularly in the Western world here, somebody says, "I'm depressed" or "I'm anxious," let's give them a pill and mask it. And look at the opioid crisis that is going on in our world today with our youth and our adults as alike. It is so, who's teaching our children to think the thoughts that will create healthy minds, healthy bodies, healthy relationships? Who's teaching thinking instead of going, take these pills, you'll feel better tomorrow? It drives me nuts. This stuff we're talking about today is just so important. So important. So what's exciting now is that research and science is now absolutely proving the power of the brain. This stuff used to be woo-woo. I mean, literally, you could listen to people talk about this and you'd go, yeah. You know, it's woo-woo stuff. I mean, gosh, we're all made of energy. And if you just get the right energy, you're going to attract the energy to you. And woo-woo. Not anymore. Science, because we have advanced so far in scans and in MRIs and in pictures of the brain, that literally science can prove now that our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings create our emotions, and our emotions cause our behavior, and our behavior creates our results. So it all starts with thinking. What am I thinking? And, you know, I'm going to do an exercise right here, right now. I want everybody listening to this or watching this. I want you to, I'm having a hard time even getting this exercise out right now. I want you to think about a lemon. I want you to take that lemon, I want you to roll it on the countertop so that it's nice and soft, and you can absolutely feel the juice inside that lemon. And now I want you to cut it with a knife and watch the juice flow out. And now I want you to take that half of the lemon and I want you to put it in your mouth, and I want you to suck on that lemon right now. Just suck on it. Mike, what's happening to you? Are you salivating, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, my tongue is getting sour. I can taste the sourness of it.
I know, right? My mouth is like puckering up. I'm having a hard time talking. My mouth. And that is a very simple exercise that proves all I was doing was thinking about a lemon. But my body reacted to that. It created a feeling, and it created an action where my body literally responded to my thought. Amazing. And now that science has proved that, we can make such great advances on how to go forward. So let's go back to the title of it. Aim for greatness. Aim for greatness. So I have created an acronym out of the word AIM. And I'm happy to say that I can actually take credit for this one. You know, so much of my stuff is out of my books and stuff, but this was a 5 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my gosh, AIM stands for attention, intention, and mental mastery. Attention, intention, mental mastery. That's what we really want to talk about here. So we're going to start with the letter I. I'm not going to start with A. I'm going to go to I because I want this to come first. I stands for intention. Intention. And that means that we all have, let's go back, everything's our choice, right? We have the choice to become a seeker. We can seek that which we want in our lives. We can seek a goal. We can seek to learn. We can seek knowledge. We can seek excellence. We can be a seeker, not a sinker. That was really a faux pas there. We can become a seeker of what we want our life to look like, what we want to do, be, or have in our life. That is our intention. So in setting that intention, it is critical. And so many people don't have like the written goals, the written intention of what we want to do. And it is so critical because take a look, I've got a space shuttle here. Think about what would happen if the space shuttle took off and command had no idea where it was supposed to be going. It didn't have a target. Could they ever come back and say, Houston, we got a problem here? You know? They wouldn't know when they're off. And what happens when we don't have that point that we're shooting for is that life will take us here. And we weave and we weave and we weave, and it takes us forever to get where we're going. So we really need to have that intention of where we're going. I remember as a boater, we had a cabin cruiser boat, and it had twin engines, so 2 engines for those of you who aren't boaters. And 2 engines allow you to really turn on a dime. You can go left, you can go right. We were headed out for a vacation one night, and one of our engines blew out. So we had to turn around, come back to the marina on 1 engine. Well, on 1 engine, the boat tins, we had I think our port side engine was the one that survived, which means that the left rudder on the boat kept turning, and it kept wanting to turn the boat in a right-hand circle, so we had to keep correcting. Thankfully, and it was at night, thankfully we had a boat in front of us who had his GPS on, and he was a good boater, and he knew the lights, he knew the landmarks, if you will, better than we did. And he would contact us on the radio and say, "You are off 10 degrees to port, bring it back." So how important is it that we have our destination, we know where we want to go, and we have a way of measuring whether we're on track or off track? It's intention. And so with our intention, we obviously need to know what we want. And I would say specific. What do you want? Break it down specific. What is that you are seeking? What? And then the next thing that we need to pay attention to is why we really want it, because without a big old why, the what doesn't matter. Why will it make a difference? So in my lifestyle habits, my why has become very clear for me. I want desperately to see my grandchildren all graduate, get married. I want to hold great grandbabies in my arms, and I want to get on the floor and play with them. And that's why I go to the why. That's why I get up at 6:15 in the morning and go to the why every morning before I start my day. It's why. And then when. By what date do we want this done? Because if there's not a when, then there's no urgency to this intention. And the last one I'm going to put up here, I think, is the hardest one for people, and it's how. So let's say that you set a big intention of you're going to build a team, and you've never had a team before. You want to build a team, but you don't know how. Or, by the way, you want to write a book, but you don't know how. That how is one of the biggest stumbling blocks that we have. So I want to give you an idea here on how to deal with how. And I'll go back to our friend Stephen Covey. Begin with the end in mind. Do you think this little hand, at the age this little hand is, knew how to grow into a man? No. But the little person does grow into a man. So this is a life coach that I listen to. Oh my gosh, she's fabulous. And so what she said was, it was sort of a begin with the end in mind thing. She said, if you're wondering how to reach that goal, what the steps are, it's very difficult when you've never done it before to sit and write out the steps of, I'm going to do it, and there's what I'm going to do. She said, so here's what I'm going to have you do. Picture yourself already having completed this. You are already this weight, or you already wrote that book and it's a bestseller, New York Times bestseller. You already have your real estate team. Picture that. And I mean picture it, visualize it, mentally rehearse it. It's already done. And then write down how you got there. She said it's so much easier to write down how you got there when you can mentally picture it already done than it is to sit in going, I've never done this before. I don't know how. And I loved that idea. I thought that was brilliant in my book anyway. So let's go to the A in AIM, attention. Gotta love this yellow lab. So attention, which means focus. How hard is that today? So we now set an intention. Now, are we thinking things and doing things that will get us to that goal? Are we able to focus on that? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you simply pay attention to your intention, it'll happen. I'm doing it right now. One of my goals has always been to master the keyboard on my guitar. And here's the deal. I have played my guitar for years, but I've never known how to play my guitar. I mean, I've played at weddings and funerals and church gigs and boarders books, and I played my guitar. I just didn't know how to play it. And now I am mastering the fretboard on my guitar. I can turn on any song on the radio and sit and do a little solo over it. They're not great yet. I am not Eric Clapton, trust me. But I can play a solo over almost any radio music because I've paid attention to the intention. When I wasn't mastering the fretboard, it was because I wasn't paying attention to doing things that would help me master the fretboard. Focus is difficult in today's world. We're playing whack-a-mole out there. I mean, we're just like whap, 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 taking care of all that stuff coming in. It's hard to focus. So I heard this, and I wish I could give credit to who I heard it from. I don't know, because I'd love to give credit. But it said, focus. Follow one course until successful. What a great way to think about focus. Just follow one course until successful. So keep paying attention to it. And I also heard this little metaphor. Don't know where I heard this one either, but it took us back to high school days. And in high school, we had like an hour class on algebra. And that's what we focused on, algebra, algebra, algebra. And then the bell rang, and then we had like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we went to science, and then we focused on science. And then we had 10 or 15 minutes, and we focused on English. And by golly, we graduated. Who knew? You know why? Because they forced us to time block. As adults, are we time blocking our intention and our attention so that we can concentrate and focus on a course until successful? So I offer that up because it's made all the difference in the world. In fact, I'm going to suggest this. Take your to-do list. If you've got it on paper, which I don't have it right here in front of me, or I'd pull it up. I've got a million pieces of paper that, oh, got to do this, got to do this, got to. Well, what I've learned is I need to get it off that paper, put it into my calendar. Mike, for you, I had to time block getting this done for you. It went in my calendar. This is my time to focus on this. Creating our free gift. I had to put it in the calendar. I've got to do that. So write it in your calendar. Don't leave it on a to-do list somewhere. And to pay attention, I would say there are two things that will help you out greatly. Affirmations is one of them. And I know you've heard this before, but you know what an affirmation is? It's self-talk. It's self-talk. What are you talking to yourself about? What is the self-talk that you are doing? That's all affirmations are. I am. And so right now, I will give you an example of mine. I've got it written down on a million cards, and they're laying all over so that I know to say it over and over again. I am a healthy, joy-filled, loving, confident woman. I think, eat, drink, and behave like a healthy, joy-filled, loving, confident woman. There it is. And if I say that over and over again, and if I say it when I'm holding the refrigerator open, looking at what to eat, it's there. Now my behavior might change. Visualization is second. And that is a mental rehearsal of what I want to see as a result. It's a mental rehearsal. That's what Olympians do. Olympians do it. Go back to the Bible. Seek and ye shall receive. But you're supposed to look for it. Visualize things. I mean, history has tons of examples of how visualization and self-thinking works. So I don't know how many people have watched The Secret or listened to The Secret, love the book. Jack Canfield spent 6 days at one of his courses. I love Jack Canfield. Oh my gosh, what a mentor he's been. Love this book, but I have a secret for you. The Secret doesn't work. Not all by itself. The one thing that I think was missing out of The Secret was action. It almost, we read the book and we listened to the movie and we're like, yeah, baby. All I have to do is think and draw the energy and it happens. Yeah. There's got to be action. So let's add action to that board. The thinking, the mental rehearsal, and making little decisions to make actions every day to get us there. Oh, wow. Powerful stuff. So let's go to the aim. The M in aim is mental mastery. And I put Confucius, I think that's Confucius, up here. This type of wisdom that we're talking about today goes back centuries and centuries and centuries. Mental mastery. And you know what? These people, Buddha, Confucius, all of these Greek philosophers even, what they did was they used meditation a lot to get into that subconscious mind, because that is the creative part of us, to reprogram that subconscious, unconscious, or default mind. Mental mastery. It's kind of putting everything we talked about together. It's thinking in our higher mind to the point where it will reprogram our beliefs and our habits and our patterns. That is the goal, to reprogram. And again, science has proven not only that you can reprogram, but they've proven that no matter how old we are, and I'm thrilled to hear this, no matter how old we are, we can actually create new neural pathways to help us accomplish new things. We're never too old to learn music, learn a language, we can create new neural pathways. In fact, it's called epigenetics. They've actually proven now that we can change our genes, which means I can no longer say, my mother was short and stocky, so I'm short and stocky. Sorry, doesn't work that way. I can reprogram this. I can do it. So I'm going to take you back to a teenage time when I was lying in bed and I was crying. And my mom, I must have been sobbing literally, because my door was shut and my mother came in. She said, honey, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. I'm just so sad. I can't stop crying. I don't know. And she said, well, but why? I said, I don't know. And then there was this silence in the room. And she said, what are you listening to? I said, Neil Diamond. And I had one of his sad love song albums playing on my record player. Sorry, all you millennials. She said, well, dear God. She said, if I listened to him sing those songs at night, I'd cry too. And I thought, oh my, she said, turn that off and turn happy music on. And you know, that stuck with me all these years. How wise was that? So my question to you is this: what are you listening to every day? Because it becomes a groove in a record of your unconscious or default mind. What do you listen to? That could be self-talk, that could be somebody else, that could be something on the radio, that could be something on the internet. What are you listening to every day? What are you watching every day? What are the words that are coming into your unconscious mind to create beliefs? What is it? So I'm going to have you consider a thought catalog. Become aware of what you're listening to. What are you mentally rehearsing every day, every minute, and every year? Because that becomes your belief that creates your behaviors, that ends up in your results. What are those thoughts? Because you have choices. I have choices. We can make a choice. And when appropriate, when we become aware of the thoughts, I'm going to give you something I got out of a book, Jack Canfield again, and this goes back probably 25 years. I read the book, The Aladdin Factor. And I learned that when I was thinking something and I didn't want that thought in my head, because honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I could be driving down the road thinking, singing along with the car radio and happy, happy, happy. And all of a sudden I'd have this thought come in my mind. One that used to jump in my mind is, oh my gosh, what if Richie or Patty got hit in the head by the swing at school? And then that thought would start to snowball. Oh my gosh, I'd see them laying on the ground. I'd see the people rushing to, it would snowball. And when I learned this, that if it's a thought I don't want to entertain, that is not benefiting me or the world, then I can say cancel, cancel, cancel. And think of something that will benefit me and benefit my world and the world. And change that thought. I can replace thought. It's within my power. That is such a powerful thought to know that I can change the thought. And it works, and it works over and over and over again. Now, sometimes our thoughts are there for a reason, so I don't want to dismiss thought. But I do want to say that we need to become aware of what is controlling our mind. And leave you with a story. This is a little girl, my physical therapist. I had shoulder surgery late last year, and my physical therapist's daughter, 3 years old, was a wonderful sleeper and all of a sudden became a nightmare in her own right because she became afraid. She wouldn't let her mom and dad turn off the light. She didn't want the door shut. She wanted her mom and dad with her, and this was going on for weeks. And my therapist is telling me about this while he's cranking my arm. And I said, you know, she's not too young to know that she's in control of her thoughts and her thinking. So what if, I said, is she coachable? Does she listen? He said, oh yeah, she's a great kid. I said, what if you taught her to say over and over, when she gets scared, my bed is safe. I lie down and I go to sleep. My bed is safe. I lie down and I go to sleep. Every time she feels a scary thought. The next time I went into physical therapy, he said, oh my God, I owe you the world. He said the first night we did this, she cried and we shut the door. And I went through and said, what do you need to say to yourself if you're scared, sweetie? She said, my bed is safe. I lie down, I go to sleep. She went to sleep and she stopped having the nightmares and the problems. Never too old, never too young. It's our opportunity to write a new story. What do you want for your life? Write your story. You do not have to mentally live the story you've been living if it doesn't work in your best interest to find your greatness and live the life that you really, really want to live. So, Mike, time to tell them about the gift. You have a free gift coming. The gift is Aim for Greatness, the 3 keys to living the life of your dreams. Workbook. So here's what I'm creating for you. A workbook that will be filled with this information, but also book recommendations and exercises that you can actually do to help you make choices about your thinking to create your life. And you can get that at www.agentsuccesssummit.com/Jackie Gift. I'll say that again, www.agentsuccesssummit.com/Jackie Gift. And I hope all of you go in there and download that, look at those exercises and do them and live the life of your dreams.
Wow. Wow, that is fantastic, Jackie. This is a great presentation, and I really like this gift. I like how it ties in. I want to download this and start running through those exercises. They sound really good. I think at any age, any level of development, this is powerful stuff that we could use to just make a better life for ourselves. And I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about it.
You bet. Well, Mike, I'm always just absolutely honored and thrilled to be asked back to this. I think it's a great service to the real estate agents.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Well, if you liked what you heard, consider getting a copy of this session's recordings plus all the sessions from all the speakers. Just go to www.agentsuccesssummit.com/special and pick up a copy during the half-off summit sale. Don't wait till the price of the recordings doubles after the event. Get your copy today, save half, and add it to your success library. Then every time you listen, you'll pick up another great idea for your life. So that's it for now. We'll see you in the next session. Bye.